I'll answer that question because this gets misconstrued a lot. So what's your overall opinion on Israel? It's a great question. It's a controversial question, and I do want to explain this because I have a lot of Jewish friends. Honestly, like half my friends are Jewish. So I was at a meeting with my brother who's Jewish, and not my literal brother, but my friend. And he was like, dude, people keep telling me you're anti-Semitic because you say this or that. You talk about Zionism. And he was like, I don't think you're anti-Semitic. I was like, of course I'm not anti-Semitic. I go to Hawaii. I stay for, 2 weeks with my Jewish friend. I go to Roseanne's house. She brings me to a synagogue. She created her own synagogue. I'm not even remotely anti-Semitic. And I've never even said anything anti-Israel. So people hear what I'm saying. I tell the truth about Zionism. I tell the truth about Israel, Saudi Arabia, and America. I tell the truth about AIPAC. I tell the truth about free speech. I tell the truth about the Constitution. I tell the truth about right-wingers like Prager and Shapiro selling it out. And then everyone accuses me falsely of being anti-Semitic and anti-Israel. What I am is just pro-reality and pro-truth. So my thoughts on Israel are, I think Israelis are great people. I have zero problem with Israel and Israelis, but I'm an American, so I've never been to Israel. I don't understand the full dynamic of the Israel-Palestine conflict, although I do know quite a bit just from researching. But I have no ill will towards Israel. But the thing is, Israel's our greatest ally. And the problem is, as far as what do our politicians value? Since I'm from America, I value America more than Israel. It's just how it is. And Israelis, I would think, if you live in Israel, you should probably value Israel more than America. That's how I feel. So there's no ill will there. But our Republican politicians and even Democrat politicians, the biggest lobbying group in foreign policy is not Ukraine. It's not Russia. It's not even really Saudi Arabia. Although they have so much money, they do dominate us. It's Israel. AIPAC dominates the Democratic Party. AIPAC basically controls most of the Republican Party. Believe me when I tell you, Republicans are so far up Israel's behind, they've become, in my opinion, Israel first and America second. Does that mean I hate Israel? Does that mean I don't want Israel to exist? I've never once said that. I just want American politicians to focus on American. When Ben Shapiro, PragerU, Ted Cruz, Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump, and the whole bunch tell me they care about free speech, but then they pass and support anti-free speech legislation for Israel, what does that tell me? Israel has so much power and control over them, or they're Israel first, America second. So that's my thoughts on Israel. I have no real stance on the Israel-Palestine conflict. I think there's obviously, just like America, people have taken land. Historically, they think it's theirs. The Palestinians think it's theirs. It's an ugly, sloppy situation. I think Israel's not just protecting their land, like a lot of people say. I think they're trying to expand their land. I think they're trying to expand it into Syria. I think they're trying to take more of Palestine. Obviously, that's not going to be popular. But if Israel wants to try and do that, that's really on them. You know what I'm saying? I'm not Israeli. I don't know if they deserve it, if it's theirs historically or biblically. That's for them to decide. But as an American, if we're basically their attack dog in the Middle East and it's getting us in wars, it's getting us to destabilize Syria, on behalf of Israel or Saudi Arabia or God knows what reason, then I start to care. So am I anti-Israel? No, I'm pro-America and America first. And I think most of the right wing are Zionist first. It doesn't mean I have a problem with Zionists. I have a lot of Zionist friends. Roseanne is that's the word Zionism basically means the movement to put Israel where they put it in the 1920s or 30s, whenever they did it. So you get what I'm saying? I'm not anti that. I'm just America first. And I find that none of the Zionists and none of the Republicans that claim to be America first, they're not America first. They're Zionist first, Israel first, and they do it at the expense of the American taxpayer, which I don't really care about because we already pay too much taxes. They do it at the expense of the American Constitution, which I do care about, and they do it at the expense of the American military, which I also care about. So that's my thoughts on Israel. I love Israelis. I would love to visit Israel in the right situation. I think it's debatable, and there's an argument to have about whose land is what and the peace plan, and try to figure out something that makes both parties happy. But that's not for me to decide. I'm not Palestinian. I'm not Israeli. I stay in my lane. But they dominate American politics so much, it's becoming obvious. And the State Department has rules about it now. So if you go on if you search State Department anti-Semitism, they say it's illegal. And I just had this conversation with my Jewish friend yesterday because his friend was accusing me of being anti-Semitic. And I explained to him how I felt. And he was like, dude, that makes total sense. It says on the State Department website, it's anti-Semitic to suggest that Jewish people control banks and media, and it's not all Jewish people. It's not the deli owner. It's not my friends. They don't work in media. But if you look at statistics, it's like saying I don't see color or race in the NBA. I don't. Luka Doncic is a European and he's great. But you could say statistically, black Americans are doing phenomenal in the NBA statistically. So is it racist to say that? Of course not. It's factual. So when it comes to banking and media, I mean, who do you think owns the company who owns CNN, it's mostly Jewish people. They own, for 2% of the population, they own a big percentage of media and they're a big percentage of banking. So is that hate speech to say? No. But that's the hate speech that the left and right wing both push. They're pushing for speech censorship on behalf of big Jewish power and, Israel. And in my opinion, it's actually raising anti-Semitism. So when you're allowed to honestly talk about this with no hate in your heart, it's not a big deal. You think my friends don't know this? I have liberal Jewish friends. I have conservative Jewish friends. I have Zionist Jewish friends. I have anti-Zionist Jewish friends who dislike Israel more than I do. You think they don't know this stuff? This is common knowledge. As far as statistics and who's doing what in certain areas and certain businesses. It's like, and there's a historical reason for why there's a lot of Jewish people in banking as well. And it's biblical and it's also, in the Quran as far as what Christians and Islamic people believe as far as, loans and what Jewish people believe. They don't have the same beliefs. So there's a reason for it even, historically and biblically. And it's debatable about what you think about it. You can have a conversation, but they don't want you to have a conversation. So that's the point I'm trying to get. When the right wing passes speech laws for Israel and big Jewish power, they claim they're fighting anti-Semitism, but they're actually making anti-Semitism worse. They're making more people turn against innocent Jewish people who have nothing to do with this stuff and don't even think about it or care about it, because most Jewish Americans are just Americans. They're just trying to live their life, run their business, work, have fun, watch basketball. They're normal people. But the Republican Party uses them similar to how the left wing uses black and Hispanics. They try to paint it as this monolith of a community that all feels this way, and then they do messed up things on behalf of them, and it backfires. So you get what I'm saying? That's my thoughts on Israel and this whole anti-Semitism, right-wing, left-wing thing that's going on. They have a lot of power. I have no problem, no ill will towards the people, the country, any of that, but it is becoming a problem on the left and the right, especially the right wing. Now the left, Bernie's more anti-Israel and anti AIPAC than any of them. They think Bernie's anti-Semitic now because he won't show up at AIPAC. That's how powerful AIPAC is. They complain when a U.S. politician doesn't go to their conference because they dominate and control every U.S. politician. They all want that lobbying power. So it's a simple conversation that's not even remotely hateful, but the more you censor speech on the left and the right for this conversation, the more hate people build, the more distrust people build, the more people feel this way and feel stronger about it. So that's my thoughts on it, and I'm glad you asked because this gets massively misconstrued based on what I say on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook, and people accuse me of hating an entire group of people, which is obviously not even remotely true and laughable if you knew me and who I hang out with. So it's annoying that nobody understands this, but the reason nobody understands it is because everyone on the right wing is so far in that agenda that they won't allow that conversation. If you do have that conversation, even as honestly as I have, blacklist, silent. Why do you think I'm not on the big podcasts? These people know who I am. And I'm not saying like I need to be like I'm so huge. They bring on people that are 1,000 times, lower level than me to have They don't want to talk to me. They want only blue-haired liberals. They want black conservatives who just say the unemployment's down. Trust me, I have a lot of black conservative friends who are extremely intelligent, extremely outside the box. They get blacklisted just like I do because they don't want I'm not saying all the GOP, but like certain Republican groups, they don't want black free thinkers. They say they want black free thinkers, but what they want is black people who will follow their script and say unemployment's low, Trump is the best, just make a bunch of Trump videos. They don't want this like intellectual diverse discussion on the right wing either, and it's become a problem. So that's that's my thought about that stuff. All right, let's read some comments. Someone said politically correct equals just a lie. Yeah, and we can't become hypocrites. That's the thing. The left wing has spiraled so much into hypocrisy, it's eating them alive. Because when you say one thing and you do the opposite, you get what I'm saying? It eats you alive. So the left wing is destroying itself via hypocrisy. That doesn't mean we should be hypocrites like 20% of the time and we're better because they do it. Let's be hypocrites 0% of the time. We're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to have fun. We're going to do weird stuff. But we don't have to lie. Like, it's becoming like we lie less than they lie, but we all lie together about this thing and you're the threat for not lying about it. You get what I'm saying? Steve said, I love black free thinkers. No, I'm sure you are. I'm just saying at the top of the Republican media pyramid, there's people I know who've been blacklisted from White House events, and they were one of the smartest people invited. They got blacklisted because they were criticizing Israel. That's how powerful. You can't, if you don't have this the Republican just cookie cutter responses about this stuff, you're blacklisted. That's how serious it is. So, it's and it's not helpful. That's why I'm so outspoken about it. In my opinion, it raises hate. It puts a microscope on people. It throws them under the bus. And in my opinion, you're using other communities as a shield. And I don't think that's very nice. I don't think it's virtuous. I don't think it's helpful to anybody. So they think it is. I don't think so. Have I heard of Dr. Judy Wood?